Hi, my name is Jay, and welcome to my channel. Today I'd like to talk about uh, belief and logic. And the reason for this is that I think it dives into uh, science and religion, and it's an interesting topic to me because both ends of the spectrum can have drastic effects on humanity. And the way that I look at it is if you go too far to either side of the spectrum, if you go to the extremes, it's negative outcomes for people in this world. If all you have is belief without logic, it could potentially lead you to performing acts on humanity that are not beneficial in the name of that spirit or that god or whatever religion you can think of. And it doesn't mean that it's all bad, but there's also good aspects of it, but it reaches a point where you almost need logic to make sense of that end of the spectrum. And on the other side of logic is if you only have logic with no religious belief of at all, I think is also harmful because then you kind of lose that inner energy to benefit humanity. I think you lose empathy if you go too far into logic. And you cannot, logic doesn't explain spirituality. And spirituality doesn't really explain logic in a lot of ways in my mind. And to find balance between the two, I think, is the sweet spot. I think that's where we thrive and grow as a society. Now, I'm just going to focus on logic for a second. And I think it's needed. I think logic is a wonderful thing. It helps us understand our reality, our existence currently. It's how we developed everything around us that we have today is through logic. And it helps us understand and grow and expand our resources and our energy, and it's a very useful tool. But I think that's the extent of it for me personally. I think logic is good to a point, but it also has a limiting principle. It could only go so far because it could only explain what we can see, touch, feel, and the tools that we create to dig in a bit deeper, to understand things better. Um, it helps human knowledge grow, but it has limited potential. Where spirituality, I think, goes beyond logic. It's something that we can't see, touch, or feel. But if you have any spirituality at all, you believe in something else. Now, I personally don't ascribe to any one religion. I think that there are multiple religions that have aspects of spirituality that are correct. But I think if you combine them all and focus on the good parts, or what I consider to be the good parts, is like love, treating each other kindly, helping people who are struggling, and just having like a kind heart overall, I think is a better way to look at it. I'm not confident in a lot of my assumptions or theories, but I believe that there's more to this world than what we're aware of. I've personally had situations in my life that I can't explain. I've had experiences that I can't explain to anybody. They don't make sense logically, but they happened, and I know that it's real, and life is a mystery. I don't think we're meant to use logic to break down the fabric of reality, to understand every bit and piece, to make sense of everything. I think we're missing out on the bigger picture. And where I like to see the balance between logic and belief, like religion and science essentially, is using logic to understand our world is great technology, but it should be used for the betterment of everyone and not the few. And the same goes for, I think, religion. I think too many religions are divided. They broke apart because they didn't agree with certain aspects of what was being taught, and it's all kind of been just broken down. And I look at it as a form of a game that kids used to play in school called the telephone game. You repeat a word or a sentence in someone's ear, and as you go down the line, if it goes through 50 people, by the time it reaches the last person, what you initially said is no longer what is being taught or told to the next person. And I think religion is kind of like that in a sense. And I'm not here to judge religions. You believe whatever you want to believe, and I'll believe whatever I want to believe. And this is just my own theory on life generally. And I don't oppose any religions. You're all welcome to have your beliefs, and I think we all have that right in this world. And this is just my own personal thoughts on how I see it. I don't ascribe to it, and that there's no guarantees with this. We don't really know until we move on from this reality. But I believe that if we can find balance between science and religion and just let people be to discover for themselves what it means to them, instead of trying to impart rules and regulations on everybody to follow doctrine of science or religion, and dismissing other people's views because you think that you're right. How do you know that you're right? How do I know that I'm right? I don't. But I don't try to push my views or get anybody to follow me or my thoughts, because they're my own. And I challenge anybody to figure out what you believe is true in this world. And if you can find the balance between the two, I think you will find more truth there, because we need both. You can't have one without the other. It's the yin and yang. It is life. Life is balance. If you look at nature, it's balanced. It's regenerative. And we are so far removed from nature as humanity that we are so out of balance between those two. I think most of the world is at one end of the spectrum or the other. And there's a good portion of people who are in the middle, like me, where we see both sides for what they are. They both have valid points. I think science is an amazing, it's an amazing teaching element, and we can learn a lot. And I think through spirituality and religion, if we're open to listening to all of them and allowing all religions to have their points of view, maybe we can find common ground in the middle and truly learn and grow together. I don't believe in one side trying to strong arm people into a certain way of thinking or belief. We all have something to offer to this world. We all have introspective thoughts and points of view that we can all learn from. I don't believe one side is right or wrong. I think we're all just trying to learn and grow and figure things out. But I don't know if we're all going about it the right way. My hope for this world is that more of us speak out and use logic when it's necessary, but also leave room for some belief. You can't have one without the other. I think they have to coexist. It's like a positive and negative reaction, equal and opposite reactions, right? I think that applies to what I'm talking about. Is we're all just trying to do the best that we can for the most part. And you have extremes at both ends. You have some people that are trying to do only good and then they forget about their families, or they only focus on science and logic and truth in what they believe to be true, but then ignore other possibilities that contradict the current doctrine. Silencing voices and different opinions and different views at either spectrum through logic and science or religion, I think is a bad way to go. As soon as we try to force people into a way of thinking at any level, we're limiting ourselves. We can all learn from each other if you're open to it and you can actually look at somebody without judgment and just try to understand that there might be something to learn from this person. Regardless of their status, where they're from, you could learn something from a homeless person on the street. You can learn something from children. You can learn something from anybody at all intellectual levels. We're all here to learn and grow together. And I don't believe one side is better than the other. I don't believe one person is better than the other. I think we're all here to help each other. And the division that I see, because one side leans too far to an extreme, and the people in the middle are just staying silent. I've stayed silent my whole life without really speaking out or really putting my views into perspective and trying to get people to understand how I see things. And maybe I'm wrong. Who the hell knows? Maybe people who are so confident in their knowledge are wrong. Some of the smartest human beings in the world, educated at universities, some of the top universities, they're not all right either. Just because they studied and they have that education background does not give them authority over everyone's way of thinking. That's not to dismiss their work, and they do amazing things because they have a great education. But also, people who have not gone through that system have a lot to teach them as well. Set your ego aside and just understand that you can learn from anyone, anywhere, at any time. We all have something to offer each other. We all have something that's valuable. And learning from those experiences is where we will find balance. Trying to understand each other is, I think, the key to everything. I hope to see the utopian world one day where we all get along and there's no wars and we just want to advance our civilization and learn and grow and allow people to figure out what their purpose is in this world. Because a lot of us don't have the time to understand why we're here. And not everyone will have the same purpose or the same function. And that's the beauty, is if we're allowed to learn and grow and understand what we're capable of, imagine the possibilities. That's where true balance is. We need belief and logic to go hand in hand. And I think what I'm trying to say overall is I'm tired of people arguing with each other instead of learning from each other, and the violence against each other. What purpose does it serve? In my mind, it doesn't serve any purpose. Not at this stage of the world. We have abundance beyond belief that could be shared with everybody. And if everybody was given a chance to find their purpose in this world, then they have something to contribute. And then we all have something to learn from those contributions, which may not seem like much to some of you, but it will be meaningful to someone. So my hope is that we do find balance in this world at all levels. But logic and belief, I don't think you can have one without the other. So I think I'll just leave the message there. I hope this message resonates with you. And if you made it this far, thank you for listening. I appreciate you. Like, subscribe. And I'm just going to keep talking about these types of topics ongoing. This is what interests me. This is what fuels my mind and my brain. This is my brain food, is thinking outside the box. I think too many people have been put inside of a box, and now they can't see what's outside of the box. And it's a wonderful world out there. So don't keep your mind limited. Open yourself up to other possibilities, other views, and try not to get upset if somebody contradicts you, because maybe they have something to offer. And maybe they don't. But without discussion, and without trying to understand each other, we will stay divided in this world. And I hope we don't. All right, I'll leave it there. Thank you for listening. Have a good one.